let me just introduce Rony to start with. Rony is going to talk about PPC automation. As we discussed in the morning, automation is going to become very critical in paid search. So I think he's going to, basically I've asked him to cover introduction to how automation started. Yeah, you guys can take a seat. So how automation started, what are the earlier tools, what they did, how the automation has evolved, and what the current tools are. Rony has spent about 7-8 years in paid search industry. He's worked for firms like McCann Universal and Mediacom. But lately, last 3-4 years, been working for technology tools companies like Kensho and Marin Software. So he joined us from Kensho. Before that, he was in Marin Software. So he's and he's actually been through the entire evolution of paid search. I think for e-commerce companies, for any companies that have more than 50,000 plus keywords in the campaign, I don't think there is much choice left. I think automation will have to be done. So Rony is going to cover that. Miten has come all the way from US for this session. He's, I think, the global guru for geo-targeting. So he was describing it to me that he was one of the first guys involved in setting up the Wi-Fi campus of Virginia Tech, which had almost 150,000 students. Yeah?
No, 30,000.
30,000 students. So just imagine, and then you have to track of which student is downloading what information, and we have to make sure that nobody hogs the bandwidth, right? In college, that's not easy to monitor. So Miten set it up. After that, he's been a part of a company called Quova, which got acquired. And Quova is into geo-targeting. And it's fascinating that he told me that theoretically, if he wants to do it, he can not only target a specific 5-star hotel with ads, so everybody who's on the Wi-Fi network of the hotel will see the ads, but you can actually make it that only that particular person is sitting in a certain room, only that room he will see ads. Nobody else will see ads in the other rooms. So I think invasion of privacy is the thing of the past because if you target somebody's room, that's scary. So Miten is going to cover about what geo-targeting can do for us. And Rony, you'll be starting?
Yeah, I'll be starting.
Yeah, so Rony will take over. Welcome, Rony.
Thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed your lunch. Just as a prelude to this presentation, as Vivek mentioned, I've got a lot of experience in the UK markets. I only came over to India 3 months ago to start working on SEM here. And what I've noticed right from the beginning is that technology here is actually quite sparse, particularly in SEM. There's not a lot of companies using it. And just before I start, I guess what I would say is using technology, there's a big chance, particularly for e-commerce companies, to use it as a first mover advantage in SEM to get a really good foothold in the market in whichever industry you're in. So just to kick off with my presentation. So I guess just a brief history of time in SEM. So in the mid-90s, we started with the actual ad servers. So Google AdWords and Bing and Yahoo, who actually served the SEM ads to the search engines automatically. So that was sort of mid-90s. And the way this ad serving worked was very much on an auction model, which basically meant the higher that you bid per keyword, the higher you would rank up on the page for that particular keyword when someone typed it into the search engine. What we had in the early 2000s was the advent of bid management technologies. So companies such as BidBuddy and MakeMeTop. Now, these companies took advantage of the fact that these ad servers worked on an auction basis, and they felt that they could automate that bid management system so that you didn't have to go through hundreds of thousands of individual keywords to find the right level of bid to achieve your overall ROI. So these bid management technologies took care of that for you, or they claimed to do that. Finally, we've got the campaign automation piece, which sort of happened 2005 onwards, which was really an extension of the bid management softwares. In terms of what campaign automation actually is, I believe it's made up of 4 different pieces. So you've got your automated rules and portfolio bid management. I'll break down exactly what those 2 different types of bid management are in the next slide. Dynamic keyword and copy creation. So this is going to be particularly important for e-commerce clients who have inventory that's constantly coming into their website, that they need to be displayed in the search engine constantly. So when someone types in a really specific product term, you want to make sure that your product is there and your ad is actually there and linking through to the correct page on your website. Alternatively, for travel companies, constantly updating of prices in terms of flights and package holidays, you want your ad copy to be reflecting your latest prices to ensure your conversion rates and your click-through rates are as high as possible. The next part is the cross-channel integration. So how can we use these SCM tools to bring in other data as well from other channels? So how can we bring in our affiliate data, our email data, our display data, and our social media data? So we can see the true value of SCM when comparing it to other channels, which will show the true value of the medium. And then finally, flexible, scheduled, and on-demand reporting. So in the early days, particularly of SEM, reporting in SEM was a big bugbear, and it took up a lot of resource. Again, with the advent of these campaign automation tools, that took a lot of the legwork away from having to do those reports manually, and I'll come on to that as well. So just in terms of adoption, so this is a stat from the UK actually, eConsultancy did a report, and this was in 2010 actually, 45% of companies were using a third-party automation tool for their PPC activity. So that's 45% in 2010. Into 2012, in the early part, we're probably looking at over 50%, maybe 52, 53% of companies now using automation. In terms of retail, particularly in the retail industry, it's more like 80% of retail clients now using some sort of bid management or automation technology. And again, this is another, from the same report, we've got some of the barriers to paid search. So a number of respondents were asked by eConsultancy, what were the key barriers to paid search? And anybody that's done paid search here will be able to identify with some of these barriers. So, and the main ones there, lack of budget, high CPCs, and lack of resource. So I imagine anyone, again, that's worked on high-scale SCM activity can relate to a lot of these issues that we have. One that's a really interesting one, which probably shows a little bit of a misunderstanding, is the high CPCs. So essentially, CPC is just the cost per click of your overall campaign in SCM. But I would argue that actually CPC is not your key metric. Your key metric should be more focused on things like your cost per acquisition and the return of investment you get on each click that you get from SCM. So to that end, one component of campaign automation, rules-based bid management. So the way this rules-based bid management works is the user defines a group of keywords in their account, and they also define what their position target is on the page, or what their CPA target is on the page, or what their ROI target is for that particular keyword group. And what you'll eventually get is a final keyword level bid set by the automated bid management technology. And you see at the bottom, that will lead to individual keyword maximization. So if one keyword is above or below its CPA target, or above or below its ROI target, for each keyword, it will be bid up or bid down correspondingly. This changes when we look at portfolio-based bid management. So this is based on Markowitz's portfolio theory. And this time it's slightly different. So the user will define his position, his CPA or ROI target, but the next part is actually algorithm defined. So it's defined using, again, Markowitz's theory, portfolio theory, to look at each keyword's contribution to the whole portfolio. And again, you'll get a keyword level bid, but except this time it's maximizing the whole portfolio. So to any given ROI CPA constraint, it will be maximizing your revenue, or it will be maximizing the number of conversions that you get from all of your keywords. So when you're managing a really large-scale SEM campaign where you have hundreds of thousands of keywords, up to millions of keywords, this portfolio maximization will ensure you get the maximum ROI or achieve your CPA goal. And this is what it actually will come out as, and this is what it will look like. So this is actually from a campaign automation tool called Kenshu, which Vivek mentioned that I previously worked for. And this will actually forecast where the point of diminishing returns set in your SCM activity. So just to quickly run you through how this graph looks. So the light green line there running through the middle is your conversions or your revenue curve against spend. Spend is across the bottom. So as your spend increases in SCM, as you imagine, your conversions and your revenue increase steadily, sort of in line. What tends to happen, though, as you see right at the end there, there is a point where that curve becomes flat as we start spending more. And that corresponds to that yellow chart, that yellow line there, where that also becomes flat. So that yellow line there is your diminishing returns curve. It shows the point where diminishing returns have set in, and the more money that you spend, you're not getting any additional return from your SEM activity. So these tools have become so smart that they can actually tell you the exact amount of money that you should be spending on your SEM activity according to your ROI or your CPA goal. So if you're ever wondering how much more money should I be investing in search, or am I investing too much? If you can invest in a tool like this, it will be able to tell you. And the nice thing about this sort of forecasting is that it reforecasts on itself each day. So it takes in the previous day's data and it reforecasts based on that to give you a more updated forecast the next day about where you are against your target. And just in terms of some proof points, so again, this is from Kenshu and some of the case studies that they've done. In terms of lead-driven and retail clients, you can see as soon as the bid management kicks in, which is those black skyscrapers, and the light blue line will start to go up. Again, that's your ROI, your return on investment, after the bid management has gone in and done its bidding. So again, this one is quite specific to e-commerce and retail, but can really show you how you can really save time, but again, achieve uplift in ROI at the same time as achieving those time savings. So let's take this example. This is from Flipkart, and this is their cameras portal. So if we look at the Fuji film Fineplex, that's the camera that we're looking at here. So what a campaign automation tool like Kenshu, for example, can do is it will take the product attributes from that page. So you're looking at your product attributes like category, subcategory, brand. So all of the things that are on the website that are associated with that particular product. What it will then do, this campaign automation will send it straight to the search engines in the form of keywords and ad copy. So the example keyword rules that you have is, like for example, taken from the attributes, category plus brand, which will give you the keyword Fujifilm electronics, and so on. You can define a whole set of rules based on the product attributes to automatically create a list of targeted keywords. And again, if you just think about the amount of time this is saving you, as your e-commerce sites is updating daily with new inventory, and also with the ad copy as well. It's making sure that the ad copy is completely related to the keywords that we've automatically created above, but also completely relate to the product in on the actual website. And you can see how specific it actually goes here. You've got Fujifilm C20, which is the actual product name, exactly how many megapixels it's got, the inventory there, which we've taken from the attributes, so only 3 left. And you've got the price in there as well. So you've got everything you need from an ad copy to make it as targeted as possible, so that your click-through rates and your conversion rates will be maximized when someone searches on a keyword such as Fujifilm cameras. So the next part of the automation is the cross-channel integration. So I discussed this at the beginning, but essentially we have 3 types of data, all that need to be aggregated in one place. So initially we've got the ad servers such as Bing, Comely, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter. So all the data coming from that side into the automation tool. Then at the top we've also got data from the tracking pixel itself. So this is the data that comes from the campaign's automation tracking pixel that will tell you exactly how many conversions you're making each day, how much revenue you're making, what products are being brought. And then finally, you've got the other side of it. And we've talked about this a little bit already today, which is the analytics side of things, where you can start to see on-site conversion and how that relates to the keywords and the SEM activity that you're bidding on. So this tool can actually house all of that data in one place. So you don't need to go to 3 different places to view all this different data. You can bring all of that data into one place and then decide exactly which channel works best for you. Which channel is working for me in terms of, is it my social media, is it my display media, is it my affiliate data, is it my search data, all from one dashboard view on a campaign automation tool. So another key aspect of campaign automation and SEM in particular is the path to conversion. But when we're looking at the path to conversion, really we shouldn't only be considering SEM keywords. We should be looking at all channels and how they interact with each other at different touch points before somebody makes a final conversion. So just to explain exactly how that works with an example, so Emirates, for example, had a sale on flights to Seattle, daily flights to Seattle. So there was a display ad on the Hindustan Times website, and we would consider that the awareness stage. You know, it's piquing the interest of the user as he browses content on the Hindustan Times. The next stage we would consider is consideration. So let's say based on seeing that display ad, the user actually actively goes onto Google, types flights to Seattle, and you can see that Emirates again have really good coverage. That top listing there is actually a sponsored paid search ad, and again they're following up with the same message that they had in the display ad, so really good reinforcement of the brand. So let's say the client clicks through on this Emirates advert, but still is not convinced about buying. A couple of days later they come back and they type in a more intent-based keyword into Google again. So book Emirates flights to Seattle. And again, you'll see Emirates are there with the ad with a very specific, positive, reinforcing their message again with the same ad. And then finally, you get the sale. So let's say the user makes the sale on that final keyword. Now, where should the credit for that sale go? The initial awareness was driven by that initial display ad. You could argue, without seeing that initial display ad or clicking through on it, that user may not have actually purchased anything through SEM at all. So where does that credit go? So where should we attribute the revenue that was generated from that ticket sale to from the ticket to Seattle, and where should that conversion be split up across all three different channels? So that's a key question that we need to answer. And campaign automation actually really helps us answer that question. So if we just look at search and the path to conversion, so this is a report taken from a study actually called the virtuous cycle of search and social. So 45% of consumers search more than once on their path to purchase. That's 45% of consumers searching throughout their path to purchase. Why that's important is how do we attribute those conversions and those revenue across the different touch points, the different clicks on the path to conversion. So traditionally, the way it works is the last click gets all of the credit. So in that previous example that I showed you, the intent-based keyword, book flights to Seattle, would have been the one that got all of the conversions and all of the credit assigned to it, all of the revenue and all the conversions. The display ad and the other search click would have had no credit attributed. In terms of how campaign automation can try and move away from that last click model, is by moving to a different attribution model. And some of the different types of models that they have, so we start with first click. So first click is where the conversions and revenue will be attributed to the display ad. So you can actually switch this in the campaign automation tool. So you can see in your reporting that actually in my path to purchase for the cookie window, let's say it's 30 days, the first click that caused the conversion will be the one that's attributed all of the conversions and revenue. And the last two clicks, in this case the two search clicks, will be attributed no conversions of revenue. This works really well, particularly in a travel industry, for example, where people start with really, very research-based terms like weather in Tenerife or weather in London before they make their final purchase within a certain time frame. In terms of the other models that are available, so we've also got divide equally. So divide equally, sort of self-explanatory, will say for each of the clicks, there would be the conversions, the revenue would be divided equally between each one. So each touch point gets an equal attribution. So you're giving some credit to all of the different touch points that the user's gone through.
We'll have a couple of minutes, so I think,
sure.
So probably you can just,
I'll go through it very
if
quickly.
any important thing which is left, otherwise then question answers are going to be there in
and
any
then
case.
we've also got a custom attribution model as well, where you can actually define a custom level of percentage for each click through the purchase cycle. And this is just an example of what a cross-channel dashboard would look like. So you've got all your publishers on one side, and you can see the cost per conversion or the ROI for each different channel. And based on that, you can decide on where to put your, where to put your next marketing rupee. Automated reporting, and again, this has been mentioned before, but this is actually from a company called Marin Software, who actually I previously worked for as well. But they have the ability to create reports in something what's called a web query. So all the data is stored in a URL, which is then stored in Excel, and then each daily or weekly or monthly, you don't need to log into the tools to retrieve your report. That's actually just updated in Excel itself. So the automation of the reporting happens actually through Excel and doesn't need to happen through the campaign automation tool at all. So a big time-saving element there in terms of linking through to a dashboard that you've created in Excel. And I guess the final point here is automation works. It's not, I guess it's not something out of a sci-fi movie. You know, this is here and now. It's really working. And as I mentioned at the top of it, you know, having worked in the more developed markets of the UK and the US, you know, they're being used comprehensively by the biggest advertisers in the world. And there's a big opportunity here in India, I guess, to get that first mover advantage and really get an edge on your competitors. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Rony.
You know, all day we've heard a lot about SEO and how you want to do automation and sort of do better in your search and create better content. I want to take a slightly different sort of topic and talk about, you know, let's talk from SEO, let's go to GEO. And really what I want to give you a sense of is a very high level understanding of what where can do for you and why that's important and why you need to start thinking about it at this point and sort of take a holistic view of it. So John Patel, who's CEO of Federated Media and one of the leading thinkers in the space of search and content and how consumers are sort of behaving with these new channels, recently said that location is the most important signal on the internet after search. And so when you think about what search tells you, it sort of tells you specifically what the user is looking for. And what location tells you is where they are when they're looking for this. And so that is a huge benefit when it comes to being able to service and sort of deliver your content, your services, your message being able to be discoverable, so on and so forth. And so you need to sort of take location more seriously. So what does it mean to say where? What are the different kinds of things that you can understand? What are the kinds of things you can decipher from this signal? One thing, for example, is how far are you even in a market where the consumer is right now? If there was an example earlier today of a pizza in Bandra, right? And if someone's searching for pizza and you're not in Mumbai, you want to know that, and you don't want to spend your money when it comes to advertising, or if somebody is within reach, you want to make sure that you're delivering that message to them. Another one is location is also a proxy for a lot of different kinds of attributes about your audience. One sort of obvious metric is demographics. Where they live is often a very important indication of who they are, right? And as the saying goes in the United States, and a lot of markets where there's a very advanced set of consumer segmentation, the term goes, you are where you live, and birds of a feather flock together. So there, it's very important to understand from a demographic perspective, it's a good signal. The other one, as Vivek was talking about earlier, which is being able to tell where they are, what are they doing right now? What kind of situation are they in? Are they at home? Are they researching stuff? Are they in a mode of consuming entertainment? Are they in the mode of consuming content for their work to do better in their profession? Again, that's very important when it comes to being able to target, deliver, so on and so forth. Another one is traveling. When it comes to, again, the travel segment, travel users are often very high spenders on certain categories of services, whether it's technology, whether it's hotels, whether it's rental cars, whether it's a whole host of services that go with that. Another one is, again, I spoke about this before, which is this a geography that you reach? Are you servicing this market? And then there are others as well that probably we don't understand quite yet, but I think might be relevant for you and your business. So again, going back to why this is important here and now, and as sort of India does more and more with the internet, whether it's on mobile or it's on the web, and commerce is going online, we need to understand what sort of the internet aids helping consumers do. So here's a stat. Again, this is from the United States market, but I can't fathom it'll be very different for India as well, which is 80% of purchases happen within a 14-minute drive time of where someone lives. And that's a very important thing to understand. Again, going back to being able to deliver where consumers are. Similarly, 40% of women, when they're at work, they are sort of searching for, looking for content, looking for services and goods that they may buy at a later date or maybe later in the day, for example. So again, where someone is very important. Are they at school? So maybe if you can understand they're accessing the internet from a university, that gives you a sense of what segment they're in. Again, so are they're a student? They are savvy with technology, so on and so forth. The other thing I want to talk about is our notion of mobile itself is evolving quite drastically. One of the big challenges that you'll hear a lot of the mobile ad networks and mobile companies talk about over the next couple of days is being able to identify where consumers are from a mobile standpoint and then being able to target them through ads and offers and stuff like that. So as we're looking at tablets, as we're looking at smartphones and sort of moving away from an SMS-dominated world here, especially in India, we need to think about this differently because when it comes to mobile devices, they are sort of often bandwidth heavy and bandwidth hungry. And so carriers all across the world are deploying Wi-Fi networks all over the place, whether it's at convention centers, whether it's at airports, at railway stations, points and places where people congregate, coffee shops, all these kinds of things. And they're accessing the network over Wi-Fi. So that makes it, again, very easy from a marketing, from a targeting standpoint, even from a content optimization standpoint, to understand where someone is and then reach them in that fashion. So enough about why this is interesting, what might you care about it. You sort of have to get down to what you need to do now that you've sort of started to take notice of it. And so here's just a suggestion of some of the assets that you have from a digital standpoint that you want to start to localize. The first one there is a landing page or the site itself. One of our customers is Walmart and Walmart.com. And what they do is they want to automatically detect which store you're closest to. So when you go on the site and you're trying to search for something, trying to buy something, automatically on the right-hand side, they want to show you that this product is available at the nearest store, or they want to give you the phone number for the store nearby, so on and so forth. And they've seen that there's been at least a 30 to 40% better conversion down to the store when they're automatically suggesting which store is nearby. And again, there the assets can be quite different. You can have a click to call, you can have a phone number, you can have a link for a map. Again, these things sort of help the consumer sort of finish their research process, buying process much faster than they would have otherwise had to sort of, from a task continuity perspective, if all my information is right there, I can sort of do my research and move on and make my decision. So that's sort of very important and has a direct impact to your bottom line. Content and merchandise mix, I think you've heard about this earlier in the day as well. Being able to sort of communicate to the customer saying you understand them, you service their markets. Again, very important. If I go to a site and if it doesn't give me a feeling that this is something that I can access, something that I can interact with, and services that I can buy or use, I think it's sort of suboptimal. Deals and offers, we know about daily deals. There's a huge sort of boom and bust in that market. The next one is actually quite interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about it later as well, which is ensuring that your business listings are accurate. So today, consumers are interacting with you and your business and your services across a whole host of destinations. So they're interacting with search engines, they're interacting with specific review sites. So for example, if you have a restaurant chain, right? Consumers may discover you on services like Yelp or Zomato, where there's reviews. They may also discover you through stuff like Just Dial, where you might want to, they might just call and sort of retrieve your information. So making sure that your business listing, your key elements, the name, address, phone number, URL, Facebook pages, so on and so forth, are all sort of syndicated accurately is very important. And then, lastly is, you have to make sure, as Rony spoke about, when you look at this from a cross-channel perspective, location and where can be applied to all of these things, And so you have to be smart about how you do attribution and track all of these things across your different activities. Again, coming back to search, I think we've spoken a lot about this today. I think one key thing to keep in mind is most marketers don't realize how localized search queries already are, right? Nobody wants to look for products and services and goods in general which are sort of away from where they are. Most people, when they do research, they want to take an action with it, and so it's all very local from that standpoint. I sort of touched on some of the other points as well: review sites, search engines, deal sites, and a whole bunch of local destinations. Travelocity, for example, or Make My Trip as well, for example, is a local destination from my standpoint. Key things to keep in mind: you need to maintain your place, right? You have to make sure that your place ID, your information that's related to location itself is accurate, is easily accessible, and cross-linked. And so, this is just a snapshot of how crazy the marketplace is. Again, while it is a US-centric picture, a lot of these things are sort of present in India as well. So these are the different destinations as well as aggregators of local listings out there in the marketplace today. So when a consumer is going to go reach any of these points, you have to make sure that you are listed, you're present, and you're available when they want to search for your products and interface with you. So that sort of brings me to the end of my slide. Okay, one more. This is sort of a product plug. So I work for a company called Quova, and we are one of the leading providers of geographic intelligence when it comes to IP addresses. And what I wanted to highlight really was that IP addresses are sort of a coordinate system for the web, for the internet infrastructure itself, right? As you have street addresses on the web, there's no sort of simple street address, and that's what IP addresses help you do when it comes to understanding where your consumers are. It does give you a lot of valuable context. Country, state, city, all those are pretty obvious. Postal code, zip code, PIN code here in India. What time zone are they in? What's the postal? What's the phone area code? Also carrier, right? That's very important when it comes to, there was a conversation earlier today about CDNs and understanding and making sure your site is optimized. So if you're able to tell that this person is coming over a dial-up connection, you want to send them to a slightly lighter weight version of your site than actually sending them to the flash-heavy version. They may never actually be able to see the content. So carrier type tells you that. And then also where they are. So understanding whether this is someone working in a large corporate business, or whether they're at a university, whether they're at a travel destination, so on and so forth, are all sort of pretty important, and IP addresses help you do that. Quova was recently bought by a company called Newstar, and so that's where we are now. And Localese is another brand of ours that helps with business listings. And I think that is sort of the end of my slides.
Cool. Thanks, Miten.
Absolutely.